Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 8 at Keeneland on Saturday. We're kicking off a 50-cent pick for this race. Is always a good one. It's the Grade 1 First Lady for fillies and mares going a mile. Before we take a look at the field, check out this deal for DRFTV viewers. 10% off all DRF past performances. Use the coupon code DRFTV10. Shop now at either DRF.com or use the QR code right on your screen. Here's the field for the Grade 1 First Lady Stakes, and it's a very strong group. 11 entered in here. I think you can make a case for 5 or 6, Mike. Chad Brown, of course, is very well represented.
Yeah, it does. The sort of handicap's wide open. I think a lot of, if anybody who shows up with their good race in here, Dan, is probably going to have a legit shot to win it. We'll see what kind of trips these horses can work out. Chad Brown, very well represented, but I didn't necessarily feel like he sort of towered over the other horses in here.
Well, let's take a look at the time form US pace projector. AG Bullet is fast, and she exploded to a career best performance last time out over the quirky Kentucky Downs turf course. She's come back good in her last 2 races. She's bringing some California speed to the table. She's expected to make the lead. Walkathon is fast, but she could also sit, and I think they'll take a seat with her. White Beam, Evie Jets.
Yeah, those horses, I think the horses that the pace projector has up close to the 10, yeah, they all sort of want to be forward, but I think all of them are pretty well adaptable. If this pace gets faster, they don't have to get hooked up on it. Dan Egg Bullet just seems like a horse who has to go in this race. She wants to be on the lead. She probably will be. She's also kind of looks like a little bit more of a sprinter unless she can absolutely get loose and back things down.
And if the pace is hot, keep an eye for the late running, long striding Chili Flag. The number 8 has the fastest time form US late pace rating and might get a much different scenario than her most recent start, the Diana, where there was just nothing for her to run at. We'll start things off with one of Chad Brown's runners, and this one will be a price. The number 1 Fluffy Socks is a millionaire, and Chad's put her in some very good spots in her career. I'm really not sure at this point she's a Grade 1 winner, but Fluffy Socks has been honest most of the season. In the Diana, she wasn't going to beat White Beam the way that Race Flow worked out, and I just don't think the trip was really there for her, but there were other horses that were compromised. She won the Gallarette 3 starts back, a race that she really couldn't lose on paper.
Yeah, well spotted there, and did what she was supposed to do. She's held her own at the top of this division several times. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it hasn't really broken through with that major Grade 1 win, although she almost got one in California at the end of last year. So I don't know. She can go with these horses. Trips are very important to her. She needs a little something to run at, but she will run when things set up for her. This race might set up for her again. I could see using her underneath at least.
The number 2 is Tarawa, coming in from overseas for the great Dermot Weld. And you just get the feeling that this filly is finally reaching peak maturity at the age of 4. Most recent start was a Group 3 victory in Ireland, going 1 mile and 1/8. And she beat a good field. The runner-up came back to win a Group 2.
Yeah, encouraging. Her most recent form. It is pretty encouraging, because as a 3-year-old, I thought that she was a little bit disappointing. Started out with potential. I thought she ran really well on the Irish 1,000 Guineas early last year, and then just sort of never went forward off of that good performance, Dad. But she's gotten better this year. Now that's come with a little bit of added distance attached. So we'll see if that made the big difference in here. But I don't know. I think she's interesting. I just wouldn't take too short a price on her.
Trainer Eddie Keneally is very sharp, and after the 3, Safine didn't change leads in the stretch at Ellis Park 2 starts back. He outfitted Safine with blinkers for this race at Kentucky Downs, and it seemed to make a lot of difference. Safine was more focused. Safine was able to get to the lead, and Safine sprints on home to post a 12-1 upset victory. She is very tactical, but now she's taking a big step up in class.
Right. If it does sort of seem like maybe this race that we're watching right now is the best race that she's ever run. And maybe, listen, certainly the blinkers could have something to do with it, Dan, but it was at Kentucky Downs, and she was loose on the lead for much of the race, and that's just not going to happen here.
Gina Romantica, the number 4, won this race last year for Chad Brown, and she parlayed that effort into an excellent 4th place finish against the boys in the Breeders' Cup Mile. I'm just not sure she's come back as good this year at 5. 4 starts, no wins. She came close here in the Ballston Spa. And I guess if you wanted to make an excuse, it's a 4-horse field. She gets wired and she had to come the long way around.
Yeah, she was on the outside here, and it's not a very fast pace, and she's trying really hard down to the wire here, Dan. There's never a real point where it looks like she's going to get there, and she doesn't get there. Another okay performance. I don't, she's kind of lost me, Dan. I was trying to be really positive on her this year. I really thought she'd come back and have a great year as a 5-year-old, and for whatever reason, that hasn't happened. I don't, hate her last 2 races, but I don't love them either.
The Walkathon, the number 5, is really an underrated mare for a good trainer in Ian Wilkes, and they ride her very tactically. And when she gets an easy lead, as she did in races like the Endeavor and in the Anchorage at Churchill Downs, she could be very dangerous. And a similar situation occurred last time out at Kentucky Downs. It was the ladies' stakes. The pace wasn't necessarily fast. She was contesting it from the start, and then she wins pretty comfortably.
Yeah, good stuff here. I thought, ran really well. Obviously, handled that Kentucky Downs turf course pretty well and just really won that race easily in fast time. She's, the bottom line, Dan, maybe this trip won't work out for her because she does want to be forward. She's underrated, and she has shown that she doesn't really need the lead to be effective. That race 2 starts back, they weren't really going in front of her at Ellis Park that day. It was a very even pace. She sat off it. She won.
Evie Jets was 3rd in the First Lady last year, and she's just a very likable horse, closing in on $1 million in career earnings. She ran fine in the Just a Game 3 starts back, being beaten less than a length. In the Diana, she was up close to White Beam early and then got a little bit tired in the stretch, and she ran fine at Kentucky Downs again. She's tactical. She's likely going to sit in the second flight, and she's going to try her best. We'll see if she's good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I could, sort of say the same things about her that I said about Walkathon. I mean, she's very underrated. She's a tactical horse. You can put her on the lead, but she doesn't really need to be there. I don't necessarily know that she's come back quite as good this year at 6 as she was as a 5-year-old last year, but she's held her own in some pretty tough spots. And listen, maybe she just falls into the right kind of trip here and factors at the end.
The 7 Special Juan made her North American debut for the powerful Team Valor Syndicate and scored at Kentucky Downs on September the 7th. Let's watch Special Juan take advantage of a fast pace. They went the second quarter in 23-2. The pace setters are tired. Special Juan's not tired. This is a nice late run.
Yeah, gonna come pick these horses up. Did have a great setup in here. Again, over that Kentucky Downs turf course. So who knows? It's not the kind of effort I don't think that's going to get her to the winner's circle against this field, in a grade 1 at Keeneland, but maybe she'll improve.
Chili Flag won 3 graded stakes races in a row going a flat mile. This is her distance. It's all about whether she gets pace. They tried to stretch her out to 1 1/8 in the Diana last time out, and she didn't get pace. She was wired by White Beam, who's also in this race. But if you take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, it plays very nice to Chili Flag, and I just think getting back to 1 mile is what she wants.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, just the Diana last time, I understand why Chad ran her in that race. I think he even knows that the mile is probably her best distance, but they took a shot at the big race up at Saratoga. That was not a strongly run race at all. She sat on the outside at the back, tried to swing wide to the stretch. It was never going to happen. It's not like she ran great in there, but to me, she had no chance. I got to believe, Dan, that was mid-July. I'm sure Chad, right after that race was over, had this one circled. He's like, that's where we're going with her. The 2-turn mile, it's what she wants. There's pace in here. I suspect she's going to run a lot better.
Implicated, the number 9, was formerly trained by Chad Brown, and I thought she was a little bit dirtied up going into the Brendan Walsh barn. A very impressive win and a 3rd level allowance. Backed that up with a nice score in the Nassau, and they ran her at Kentucky Downs last time out, and she was wired as the favorite by Walkathon. I'm just going to draw a line through that race. We know so many horses just don't replicate their best performances at Kentucky Downs. Plus, it was Implicated's first start off of a 2-month layoff. At worst, it built up her fitness for this start. I think she is underrated, and we haven't seen her best yet.
I agree with that. I was a big fan of hers when Chad had her. She won her first 2 starts for Brendan Walsh. Ran really well in both of them. That Nassau 2 starts back. Yeah, she got a good trip in that race to be sure, but it's not like there was nobody in there. I mean, Fev Rover is a nice horse. Full Count Felicia was in that field cutting the pace. She's been a monster since that race. I don't care about the Kentucky Downs race. This was going to be a price, and I'm going to use her.
AG Bullet has won 4 of 5 starts since moving into the Richard Baltus barn, and she exploded in the ladies' turf sprint last time out, going 6.5. She had the easiest lead 2 starts back in the Osanitas, going 1 mile. Here going 6.5. She just blasted to the front, and they could not keep up.
I mean, looks really good winning this race, and it's obviously very fast. Unfortunately, it happened at Kentucky Downs, and so I don't know what to do with it. The mile two back, she just sort of stole that race, I thought.
Yes.
I just feel like she has a lot to prove here, Dan. Off the two big wins, maybe she takes money in here. I wouldn't really want her unless she was some kind of big price. I just don't think you're going to get it.
And then you have White Beam, who beat 4 of these horses last time out in the Diana, albeit with the best trip. Pratt rode her that day, got her right to the lead, and got her relaxed on the backstretch. And as they turn for home, White Beam is sprinting for home. All these others have a lot of work to do, and White Beam is going to get there first. She's been freshened since this race. Now she's going to cut back to a mile where she's had some success in the past. But if she doesn't make the lead, the question is she going to be as effective? I know she won the Diana in 2023 from off of the pace. She's a solid horse, but I wonder if she's dressed up a little bit by that effort.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I don't mind if she doesn't make the lead in here. And I do think that she's pretty good, to be sure. She had all the best of it in the Diana last time and really took advantage. Not to say that she didn't run really well in her first 2 starts this year, Dan, because she did. But in that Just a Game, I thought that's the kind of trip she got in the Just a Game is the kind of trip she's probably going to get here, having to sort of track other horses. She made the lead. Chili Flag ran right over the top of her.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Just a Game. It's a really important race. Could set things up for the Breeders' Cup Mile if any of these horses want to stretch out for the filly and mare turf. Chili Flag looking for some pace. You know she's going to kick in the lane. You've already scored on her a couple of times this year. She's a dangerous late threat.
Yeah, I'm going to just stick with her there. I think this is what she wants. This race seems like it's going to set up the right way for her, and I'm going to give her a chance to rebound out of the Diana.
I'm terrified that Gina Romantica just isn't the same horse that she was in 2023, but she did pop a triple-digit buyer 2 starts back when chasing White Beam in the Diana, where she was a little bit pace compromised as well. I think she can settle in mid-pack and try to get the jump on a horse like Chili Flag turning into the stretch. I'll go with Gina Romantica, 4:11.68. Mike's going 8:9.52. It's the First Lady at Keeneland on Saturday. Good luck.
Hey friends, you look like you're in need of a winner. If you enjoyed the great content right here, just click and subscribe right here and enjoy the great DRF.com Race of the Days, the phenomenal stakes previews, and so much more. Many of that content featuring me and my exceptional selections. Trust me, you won't regret it.